In previous videos, we've discussed factoring using a GCF, factoring by a difference of two perfect squares, factoring using reverse FOIL, and factoring by grouping. But in all of the examples we've done, the highest exponent has been x squared. All of our expressions have been in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. The highest exponent is a 2. In this video, we're going to discuss what happens. Let's say you have an expression ax to the fourth plus bx squared plus c, or if you would have, let's say, ax to the 16th plus bx to the 8th plus c. Let's start with an example. Let's say we have x to the fourth minus x squared minus 6. The first thing you always want to do whenever you have a factoring question is see, is there a GCF? In this case, there's no GCF. The next thing you always want to do is see, is this a difference of two perfect squares, which this question is not. Next, you always want to try to do reverse FOIL. Reverse FOIL you could only do when a, which is the coefficient of the variable with the highest exponent, which in this case would be x to the fourth, if this coefficient is 1. In this case it is, so we're going to try to do reverse FOIL. When we do reverse FOIL, when we have an expression like the one on the first line on this page, ax squared plus bx plus c, when we have our two factors, inside the parentheses, the first term of each of the factors is always going to be equal to x. We have an expression when the highest exponent is greater than 2, let's say x to the fourth, as long as it's an even exponent, the first terms are always going to be half of that exponent. So in this case, it would be x squared and x squared. Let's say our highest exponent would have been x to the 6th, then our terms would have been x to the third plus or minus something and x to the third plus or minus something. If our highest exponent was x to the 16th, then our terms would have been x to the 8th plus or minus something and x to the 8th plus or minus something. So let's go back to this question. After that, we solve it like we solve a regular factoring by reverse FOIL. We find factors of the c term, which in this case is -6, that add up to our b term, which in this case is -1. Factors of -6 are +1 and -6, -1 and +6, +2 and -3, -2 and +3. Which one of these adds up to -1? +2 and -3. So we just plug those in. +2 minus 3. And this is the answer. Let's look at another example. So we have the expression x to the 8th plus 3x to the 4th minus 10. So we know that since we have our highest exponent is an even exponent, x to the 8th, the first terms in each of our factors are going to be half of that exponent, so we're going to have x to the 4th and x to the 4th. Now we just solve it like a regular reverse FOIL question. Factors of -10 that add up to +3. Factors of -10 are 1 and -10, -1 and +10, +2 and -5, -2 and +5. Which ones of these factors add up to +3? -2 and +5, so we're just going to plug those in. And this is the answer.